Although at first it may seem redundant and unnecessary, pre-writing is an essential step to the development of any type of academic writing. It is especially important in the creation, development, and critiquing of thesis statements. Pre-writing is more than just a required step in most academic classes. This is because pre-writing helps you figure out exactly what you want to say and how you want to say it. This includes determining what rhetorical model you plan to use and what topic you want to cover. When you've chosen these two options, pre-writing allows you to structure your ideas in the appropriate way. It also saves you time when it comes to writing your final paper. When you organize using lists, free writing, and other methods of pre-writing, it makes it easier to determine what you want to say and when you want to say it in your final draft. It also ensures that you understand the assignment long before the final draft is due. As you conduct your pre-writing, you're able to see if it matches the assignment's requirements or rubric, as well as receive feedback from your instructor and peers. Pre-writing ensures that your thesis is polished and meets the expectations of the rhetorical model, as well as the purpose of the paper. When you are able to see how your thesis interacts with your subtopics and arguments through pre-writing, you are able to polish it before final submission. Using pre-writing strategies such as clustering and mapping also helps you organize the topics, subtopics, and arguments in a way that is both visually and argumentatively appealing. Writer's block is also reduced by pre-writing, as it allows you to see the gaps in your research and organization prior to putting it into paragraph format. This allows you time to find additional resources and reorganize your thesis or arguments to minimize stalls in your writing process. Since you are able to identify these gaps in your thinking, you are also able to create a stronger argument and thus a stronger final draft. Finally, pre-writing leads to clearer and more confident writing, as you know exactly what you want to say, how you want to say it, when to say it, and the requirements of both the project as well as the rhetorical model. Free writing is one of the many pre-writing strategies that is best utilized for academic writing, and it is also considered one of the easiest to begin with. Since it is very much like journaling, free writing does not require any type of formal instruction to use. This makes free writing the perfect pre-writing activity for developing narratives, process writing, compare and contrast, cause and effect, or argument rhetorical papers. The purpose of free writing is to continuously write for a set amount of time about a specific topic. You do not need to worry about grammar, spelling, structure, or even organization at this point. Rather, you are just trying to get your train of thought down on paper. Your goal is to generate ideas freely and discover different thoughts about the topic that you have. It also allows you to explore arguments, clarify thinking, uncover ideas, and ask questions that could drive your research and determine what rhetorical model you need to use for the specific writing topic. Effective free writing occurs when you write continuously for a set amount of time, usually 5 to 10 minutes. The goal is to keep the pen or keyboard moving for the entire time no matter what. This is important because a time limit reduces pressure and prevents overthinking while still allowing you to discuss a topic of interest. Do not stop to fix grammar, spelling, punctuation, or sentence structure. In fact, do not erase or delete anything at all. Just keep writing. This is because editing too early often interrupts idea generation and creativity, thus leading to writer's block. Write whatever comes to mind related to the topic. Fragments, repetition, and incomplete thoughts are all acceptable and in fact encouraged. This is because free writing is about discovering ideas and not producing a final draft. This eliminates some of the anxiety that writers often feel when developing a topic and argument. Begin with a general topic or question and do not dive too deeply into any subtopics or arguments just yet. If your mind wanders, gently return it to the topic as soon as possible. This is important because staying loosely focused allows unexpected insights while still generating usable content. If you get stuck, repeat a word or phrase like, "What I'm really trying to say is." You can also write, "I don't know what to write about," until a new idea appears. The objective is to just keep writing the thoughts that come to your mind about that specific topic. This is important because repetition prevents writer's block and keeps the momentum flowing. Write the way you think or speak. Academic tone is not required at this stage and can often lead to stagnation. This is important because a natural voice often leads to clear and more authentic ideas that you can develop into academic writing later. After the writing time ends, reread your free writing and highlight repeating ideas, strong opinions, interesting examples, and questions that are worth exploring. This is important because it is where raw writing turns into usable ideas and a thesis. Free writing is meant to lead to a focused topic, a controlling idea, or a tentative thesis. It is not meant to be turned in as is, and so it is a less stressful method of producing ideas that can lead to a final product. Listing is another type of pre-writing strategy that is simple and yet effective. Listing is just like creating a shopping list. You are developing a series of words, phrases, or short ideas that are related to a topic or assignment. They are bullet points of interest that you can then use to develop a thesis, subtopics, or areas of research. This is also the best pre-writing strategy if you only have a few minutes to get some simple ideas down on paper. That is because you are quickly recording ideas as they come to mind. Although you can also include questions, the purpose is more to develop a list of ideas that you need to consider. Your goal is to generate multiple possible points, identify patterns or themes, and ultimately decide which areas are the most useful to research for your topic. Effective listing happens fast. You start by writing the topic, question, or assignment at the top of the page. This topic can be brought at first. It is important, however, that this is a clear starting point to keep ideas relevant and usable. Use bullets, dashes, or numbers to help organize your thoughts. Full sentences are not required. This is important because listing lowers pressure and speeds up idea generation. Start with broad ideas and then add specific examples, details, or experiences as they come to mind. This is important because specific items often become strong supporting points later, even though they might not seem important right now. Don't judge, cross out, or rearrange ideas while brainstorming in lists. Even ideas that seem weak can lead to strong ones. This is important because editing too early limits creativity and idea flow and can often eliminate areas of research that you can use later in your writing process. When creating your list, use sublists under the main point if a thought needs to be expanded on. Using indentations or arrows can also help show relationships. Don't be afraid to include drawings, lines, or other shapes to show organization and relationships in your list. This is important because it naturally reveals structure and possible paragraph groupings. A list aims for quantity first, not quality. So your objective should be to list 10 to 20 items if possible. The more ideas you have now, the more options you have later. This is important because it allows you to choose better topics when you ultimately have to choose from plenty. After completing your list, review it and circle repeated ideas, highlight strong or interesting points, and group related items together. This is important because the pattern will help you identify a controlling idea or focus that can ultimately become your thesis. When you are ready to move on from your list, you can cross out items that are too broad or unrelated and choose 1 to 3 items that work well together. This leads to a more focused essay idea. Then, you can convert this list into a tentative thesis, identify main points, and decide on a step-by-step order of writing. Cluster mapping is a slightly more complicated form of pre-writing, but it's also more beneficial in organizing your ideas than free writing or listing. That is because it is a visual representation of your topic, subtopics, possible arguments, and connections between them. You begin by placing a main topic in the center of your map and connecting relating ideas around it. You can use circles, lines, or branches to help show how different sub-ideas relate to the main idea. The goal of cluster mapping is to show relationships between ideas and concepts rather than simply list them or write a thought that comes to mind. This is a more organized way of pre-writing, but does require that you have a deeper understanding of your topic and the specific type of rhetorical style. Cluster mapping is essential because it helps writers see the connection among ideas, which is important for academic writing styles such as compare and contrast, cause and effect, and argument writing. It is also a great way to help writers generate supporting ideas that will strengthen an argument or discussion. Cluster mapping begins with the writer pulling the main idea or topic into the center of the page. This is important because it keeps all ideas connected to a clear focus. Then, draw lines outward from the center to relating ideas or categories as you develop them. These can also be put in circles or boxed or any other form of shape that is most visually appealing and organizational to you. This is important because this visual organizes your thoughts into manageable sections that you can use to create paragraphs later. Add smaller branches from each main idea with subtopics, examples, experiences, reasons, or questions that can add to your discussion. This is important because subclusters help develop depth and supporting details, which ultimately include research. Avoid using full sentences so that you can keep your ideas brief and flexible. This is important because short phrases allow for faster idea generation and easier revision. Don't be afraid to add new branches as ideas emerge. There is no correct number of clusters, and so keep writing until you have all of your ideas down on the page and connected. This is important because cluster mapping encourages exploration without pressure of meeting a specific number of topics or ideas. Do not erase or judge ideas as you go. Even weak or odd ideas may lead to stronger insights later. This is important because early editing can limit creativity and discovery. Do not stop yourself from exploring any idea. After completing the map, identify clusters with the most detail. Notice repeating ideas or strong connections, and look for relationships between clusters. This is important because patterns help you identify focus and organization before you begin formally writing. A cluster map is a great way to help you choose one strong cluster or connect to related clusters. It also allows you to cross the ideas off that don't support the main idea. This is important because crossing things off using mapping helps writers move from a broad topic to a specific angle. This is especially true in argumentative writing. Once you've determined your strongest cluster, you can develop a tentative thesis and use the branches as main points or steps in your argument. Ultimately, the cluster map becomes a bridge for drafting your final response. Although questioning may not seem like a complicated pre-writing strategy, it does require that the writer have a specific topic they wish to focus on, as well as questions they need answered. Questioning is wonderful for students who want to learn more about a topic in order to develop a stronger opinion or argument. Questioning requires that you develop questions related to the who, what, when, where, why, and how of a topic. The writer is not limited to these types of questions, but they are certainly the most common questions you want to address. The goal of questioning is to simply generate questions about a topic to explore the main idea more deeply and guide your research. Ultimately, questioning helps writers narrow a specific topic, identify areas that need more research or evidence, and critically think about the subject in a way that will allow them to meet the needs of their specific topic as well as chosen rhetorical style. Effective questioning starts when you write the topic or assignment prompt at the top of the page. You want to keep the topic broad at first so you can develop a clear focus based off of your questions later. Ask questions using who, what, when, where, why, and how. This is important because it ensures you're exploring the topic from multiple angles. You can go beyond these types of questions, but it is important that you start here. Avoid questions that can be answered with yes or no. Instead, focus on open-ended questions that require explanations or examples. This is important because open-ended questions lead to stronger ideas and deeper thinking. Try to write 10 to 20 questions without stopping about the topic on hand. Do not answer or judge the questions just yet. That is because quantity leads to better quality ideas in the long run. Try to include personal, political, and practical questions. Personal questions such as, how has this affected me or others I know, allows connections to yourself and the topic. Analytical questions like, why does this happen and what causes it, allows you to think of the social implications. And practical questions such as, what can be done about it, leads to solutions. Having different questions is important because it supports different writing models as well as leads to better research. If you do end up using a basic question, follow it up with why or how. You can also dig into causes, consequences, and implications based off of those questions. These deeper questions lead to an arguable focus thesis. After questioning, circle the most interesting or repeated questions and highlight questions that could guide the entire essay. This step is important because developing strong questions also becomes your thesis statement. Next, you can turn questions into statements, which focuses your research. Effective questioning also requires that you determine what type of rhetorical model you plan to use before you begin questioning. This is important because different rhetorical models lead to different types of questioning. Prewriting helps writers move from a broad topic to a focused, arguable idea by allowing them to explore thoughts before committing to a claim. At the prewriting stage, students are not trying to write a perfect sentence. Instead, they are generating ideas, questions, and patterns. This exploration makes it easier to see what the writer truly wants to say. During prewriting activities such as free writing, listing, clustering, and questioning, certain ideas begin to repeat or stand out. These repeated ideas often reveal the writer's main concern, opinion, or insight about the topic. Once a pattern emerges, the writers can narrow the topic and begin shaping a controlling idea. After identifying a controlling idea, the writer turns it into a thesis statement by clearly stating what the essay will explain, show, or argue. The thesis reflects the purpose of the essay and signals the direction the writer was willing to take. In this way, prewriting acts as the bridge between having ideas and expressing them in a clear, focused thesis that guides the entire essay. When developing your thesis statement, you first have to consider the topic or what the essay is about. This is usually broad during the prewriting stage, but should be narrowed as you work your way through developing your thesis. Topics the readers don't know what the essay's focused on, and the writer struggles to maintain an organized essay if you are unclear. Next, the topic has to be developed into a controlling idea. This is what the writer is ultimately saying about the topic. It is the main point or opinion or explanation, and often limits and focuses the topic. It is not just a fact, but shows the direction of your paper. Since the controlling idea gives the essay purpose and direction, it is essential that it is clear and easy to understand. The thesis often signals whether the essay will narrate, explain, compare and contrast, or argue, which helps readers know exactly what to expect. It also includes an organized blueprint to what subtopics you will cover in your essay. Think of it like a roadmap. So in the example provided, we see that the topic is work-life balance. Our pre-writing determined that the subtopics could be stress, technology, boundaries, and guilt. This led to a controlling idea that technology makes work-life balance harder. We put together the topic, subtopics, and controlling idea to formulate the thesis. Technology has made achieving work-life balance more difficult by extending work responsibilities into personal time. Pre-writing strategies such as free writing, listing, cluster mapping, and questioning allows writers to focus on a topic, explore subtopics, find ideas for additional research, and formulate a working or tentative thesis. Make sure that you have a clear rhetorical model in mind as you engage in pre-writing, and remember, pre-writing is essential to producing a less stressful, academically strong essay. Credit for this presentation template goes to SlidesGo and includes icons from Flaticon and infographics and images by FreePeak.